it's a whole different domain.
Hello, Jan.
Hi, Jan. All right, we are live streaming, just so everybody is aware, and I will call us to order. 104. Did everyone have a chance to look at the agenda? Is there anything we missed? Any additions? Anything on there you don't want to discuss today? Perfect. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Natalia? All in favor? And the minutes. Nicole sent out the minutes as well. Was there anything on there that needs to be changed? And nothing, and just need someone to adopt the minutes as well. Susan.
Adopt the minutes.
Thanks. All in favor? We're flying today, you guys. So on to old business. We have Dr. Jody Carrington coming on Tuesday, January 26th. So coming up really quick. I do think we're ready, and I'm happy to say that it has been promoted really well. We've been doing our best to get it shared through newspaper. Nicole and I did an interview with the Eagle that came out today. That was the article Susan was talking about. We did try to hook up Cochrane Now as well with Dr. Jody herself to do an interview, but she wasn't available, unfortunately. But on Facebook, apparently you can see how many people are going or interested. And we have 592 people that have either expressed interest or say that they actually want to attend, which is higher than ever. Like I think the most we've hit is 30, maybe. Yeah, so really good. Hopefully we get a whole bunch of people. Jeff, I do have a question for you. I was going to help because you're doing the introduction, provide you with some information. I reached out to, is it Kristen that also supports you? Okay, so I did reach out to her. I haven't connected with her yet, but I'll keep on trying to reach her, and together we will get you some really great notes that will help you with your intro.
Thank you. And Nicole, you did send over that bio. Yeah, so we have that to draw on as well. So thank you for that.
Beautiful. So I'll try to connect with Kristen again, either this afternoon or tomorrow, and we'll get that all organized. Also, just wanted to give people the heads up. I did, after some thought, I did go back to Dr. Jody's person and did ask her to avoid using colorful language for the presentation.
Oh,
I know. I was wrestling with this one, you guys, and I just think if we're doing this on behalf of the town of Cochrane, to take a little bit more of a cautious approach. So I have emailed just to ask. The response that I did get back is she will try her best, but she might slip up. So we will see what happens there. Anything else on Dr. Jody? Any questions or comments? Susan?
I don't think there was an article about her in here. The one I was talking about was a recap of your presentation to council.
Oh.
Yeah, that's on page 9. But and there's an ad about her coming, but I don't see an article.
Oh. That's really strange because we sat down with them. It was the Eagle, I believe.
Last week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it unless I missed it,
But that doesn't speak well for the size of the article if that happened either, Susan.
It's a good size one about all your woes from last year.
Oh, good. Excellent. So yeah, I'll take a look through the paper, hopefully, because we did sit down and do a pretty in-depth interview with the paper. So that's unfortunate. Anything else on Dr. Jody before we move on? Susan.
Do you need any help with anything leading up to that? Is it all virtual? There's nothing that people can do?
Nope, this one's really easy. Easy in the sense that we did all the work. And when I say we, I mean Nicole, did all of the work leading up to it. So we had to do the legal contract and all of that. And from here, they kind of lead the show. So it's an
So-
easier one.
Where does the mayor do the introduction from?
It'll be done virtually. Nicole, I don't know if you have more information on that.
Yep, just virtually. We'll get Mayor Janung into the Zoom session, and then we'll just kind of go from there. We'll have you'll introduce her, and then she'll take over, just like this. Yeah. So, but it will be a webinar format, so people won't be able to interrupt her either. So it's a different sort of format-ish with that.
Questions at the end?
If they come up and we have time, my guess is we won't have time, but they can be put into the question and answer piece that's there. And then she can choose to answer them if she would like to.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And there may not be time. It's an hour presentation that we book, so 7 till 8. So it'll probably, I don't know how much time at the end will be left. And then we will have the video to be able to share out only for 2 weeks after the event. After that, the video goes away. So we had to sign a contract saying that once the 2 weeks is up, then we get rid of the video and it won't be available anymore.
So I should keep my bit really short and maximize our time with Dr. Carrington. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, take your time to say what you need to say.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll quickly lose 500 viewers.
592 potentially.
Well, I was assuming that 92 would stick around. Thanks, though.
All right, well, let's move on to the public engagement survey results. Nicole, can you share the screen? So our team has been incredibly busy compiling the results of the survey, and Nicole has put it into a format very similar to how we presented the first set of survey results. Oh, I'll get you to flip, Nicole. So we laid it out exactly the same as when we went to council. So I won't take a whole lot of time, but I want to run through just so we know what we're comparing and what we're looking at. So everyone will remember that our first survey we did was back in June. So it was open from June 12th to the 29th. We had 552 respondents to the first round, 517 online and 35 paper copies. So it was only open for a 2-week period. The second survey that we did was open from November 12th to December 17th. So much longer time frame, over a month. We only received, I've got things blocking. I can't see the total respondents, Nicole. Oh, 340 respondents, 280 online, and we received 60 paper surveys this time, which is great. It was in the paper for a longer period of time. This time we had it in the paper for 3 weeks versus the first time it was only available for 1 week. So I'll run through the demographics. Not a huge change. We've highlighted kind of the biggest areas, but we had 4% more respondents over the age of 65 this time. And we had 8% more male respondents, which was really great. In the first survey, we had a much higher female respondent rate. Again, very similar. Majority of the people that completed the survey were Town of Cochrane residents. And again, very similar, 87% identified as being heterosexual. 8% chose not to respond at all. And in terms of citizenship, 95% identified as Canadian citizens. This one was a little bit unique. So we had 8% more single household respondents. And again, very similar to the last time as well, 39% of respondents had 3 or more people living in their household. 40% had children, and 32% of respondents had someone over the age of 65 living in their household. Sorry, I'm flying through these just so we can get to the meat. We will send this out so everybody can take a closer look. Similar to our survey that we conducted back in June, we were successful in reaching a diverse range of incomes, which is fantastic. And again, our highest income levels were closer to the lower ends, so the $20,000 to $39,000 a year. This was a new question. We wanted to know if people had completed, if this was the second time completing the survey, and 39% of respondents did complete the survey in June. So this was their second time doing it, and 61% were brand new to the survey. This was a new question that we added as well, because we wanted to gauge how do people want to participate. And 57% preferred to participate in programs virtually at this time, and 38% in person. And 5% were a combination of both, no distinct preference. And again, very similar to the last time, newspaper, 52%. I do think that speaks to our demographic of 65 plus as well that responded to this survey. But again, social media was big, activity guide, website, and word of mouth is still powerful. All right, so we're into the meat of it. So the very first question that we wanted to know is how people rated their mental health prior to the pandemic. Almost identical results between first round and second round, where 88% of respondents report their mental health as being good, very good, or excellent prior to COVID-19. This is where we get into the meat of where things actually are right now. So we asked how concerned you are in a variety of areas. We pulled out a couple areas that we felt were really important. In December, the concern rate about people's own mental health and personal well-being, their concern increased by 9% between June to now, which speaks that people are struggling with mental health. And you can see on the graphs that in June, 7% were extremely concerned. In December, 13% reported being extremely concerned about their mental health. So almost doubled. Do feel free if you have questions or anything to just jump in and interrupt me. I can't see if people are like putting their hands up or anything. We also highlighted about overloading the health system because this increased by 7% as well. So in December, people were more worried about overwhelming the health system. And again, if you look at the blue bars on both graphs, back in June, only 11% of respondents were extremely concerned. In December, 31%. So those almost tripled in terms of being extremely concerned. We also wanted to highlight, it isn't a huge increase, but this was an area that we were watching pretty closely in terms of conflict and violence in the home. Extremely concerned about conflict went from 3% to 6%. So that doubled as well with the number of people that are extremely concerned about increase in disagreements and conflict. And we also saw an increase in violence in the home, a 3% increase versus what we were reported in June versus what we heard in December. this graph, so I don't know if you remember the survey, but we asked how concerned you were and had a scaling with a whole bunch of different questions. So we asked about how concerned are you about your physical health, the amount of stress in your life, vulnerable family members' health, family stress from confinement, loss of routine or disruption of day-to-day life, uncertainty about the future, and ability to access the essential goods that people need. All areas increased in terms of people's concern, not to great extents, but within like 1 or 2 percentages as well. So people are far more worried now than they were back in June. We also asked the open-ended question too, to let people just share with us, what else are you worried about? The data, so we had a data analyzing system that looked at all the comments. Again, we got pages and pages from people about different things that were in their minds, and it pulls out the common themes and common words that exist. And we did see a little bit of a shift here from the June survey. So many of the similar themes were identified. So things like mental health, loss of income, worry about economy, loneliness, all of those pieces. But what we found was most prominent this time were themes about the government and guidelines and restrictions and rules. But I think we also need to keep in mind the timing of the survey as well. So we did it from November 12th to December 17th. That was right in the time where the more stricter regulations were put into place as well. So that kind of explains, I think, why we're seeing this theme throughout. Is there any comments or anything up until this point? I'll just keep going. So we did ask people, have you experienced any of the following? Feeling helpless about the situation, loss of interest and pleasure, change in the quality or duration of your sleep, feeling more irritable, great anxiety, increased use of alcohol and drugs. And we did see an increase in all of these areas as well. There was a 9% increase from June until December about feeling helpless, 8% increase of moments of great anxiety as well. I just want to flip to that page. I believe the alcohol and drug abuse or increased use of alcohol and drugs, that just went up slightly. It was 14%, went up to 17%. So most of the areas were like a 2 to 4% increase, but we did see an increase in this area overall. And then we asked the loaded question, what has impacted your state of mind throughout the pandemic? And we questioned things around news appearing in the media, managing my schedule, my financial situation, fear of being infected or infecting someone else, guidelines or instructions from authorities, the situation of someone close to you, or concerns about personal safety. Again, last time it was really high as well, but this time 92% of respondents reported that news appearing in the media had a negative impact on their state of mind. So I think that's pretty incredible. I think it speaks to how great some of the work the task force has done as well in terms of our positivity campaign and trying to do some of those things to combat some of that negativity that people are hearing all the time. In terms of mental health, do you have the mental health support you need? No significant change between June to December at all. But when we looked at the question, are you aware of the mental health resources in our community? We did increase from 71 to 73% that people are aware. It's only a 2% increase, but, and I have nothing to back this up whatsoever, but I like to think that the task force maybe played a small role in this with the information that we are getting out to the community in terms of the resources that are available, some of our campaigns that we did, the need help, the mail outs that were going out to people. So people are starting to increase some of their knowledge about resources that are available. In terms of top 3 networks of support, no surprise and very similar. The only thing we did add in this time was neighbors. We didn't actually have them identified in the previous survey. And family, friends, and neighbors came back as strong top 3. So we put both pie charts here, the June to the December. Not significant, but I think it is worth noting that back in June, 21% of people felt a very strong connection to their community. And in December, that decreased by 6%. We can guess all the reasons why. I think it has to do a lot with the length of the pandemic, the length of the time that we've been isolated and trying to keep safe and avoiding all of these connections and all of the different events that typically happen that aren't happening. Access to technology just increased. 2% said no, they didn't have access to technology. I think this could come back to the fact that we had it in the paper for an extended period of time and more respondents were using the paper. Also think it's important to note one of the comments that we received was asking us to post the results in the paper as well. So those that don't have the ability to go onto websites or social media to see the results were interested. So I think that's something that we should keep in mind and try to do for our residents. And people are feeling differently about the future of Cochrane's social well-being. Back in June, people were a little bit more optimistic, but 3% increase in feeling angry, 11% increase in people feeling sad, 10% decrease in happiness, and 4% decrease in excited. And again, I do think it comes back to the length of the pandemic and how long we've been in this, and people not sure about what's going to happen. We still have that uncertainty. We don't have a time limit, right? We're just all kind of taking it day by day. Is there any comments on the well-being section at all before we move into financial? No. All right. In terms of the financial overall, it actually remained fairly consistent, which surprised me. I was expecting to see some really dramatic changes and things shifting really dramatically in terms of how people were reporting. Although we have to keep in mind that this is a snapshot in a period of time of a certain people that actually responded to the survey. But in terms of, has anyone in the household lost their job? The one area that had a significant change was there was 11% increase in individuals concerned about possible job loss. But we didn't see a dramatic change. And I think there was actually a slight improvement between people that actually had lost their jobs that responded to the survey, and also a slight improvement with someone in my household has lost their job. So it was a little bit strange. We were expecting to see more people claiming that there had been jobs lost within their homes. We asked how difficult has it been to meet financial needs, and there was a 6% increase in respondents that are finding it more difficult between June to December. And we also asked if the pandemic doesn't change in the next few months, what will happen to your financial situation? So 40% worry that their financial situation will worsen. And which is 1% less. So last time, 41% of people actually worried. So hard to say. It's not it's again a snapshot in time. So I don't have answers to why some of these are a little bit different. I don't know if anyone has any speculations, but. In terms of the question, will food run out? No significant change. Last time there was just a slight decrease. So last time 5% of respondents reported that they thought food would run out, and 1% decrease, with 4% of respondents concerned about that. And again, not a huge shift either with the question, will you need to move within the next 6 months because you can no longer afford your home? Back in June, 6% said they were they'll likely need to move. And so we only went up by 1% this time. Again, we were inquiring if people had applied for financial relief services. 46% of respondents said they had applied. Last time when we surveyed, 55% said that they had applied for financial relief. So a bit of a difference there. And you can see all the different areas. 56% stated that they did not need to apply. 10% were deferring mortgage payments. We had some utility payment deferral, property tax, credit card. One of the biggest ones was the CERB benefit, of course, that people applied for. And 17% also said that they didn't qualify for financial relief programs. And thinking ahead, what is your financial outlook? And I actually thought that we would see a huge significant change here. This time, 66% of respondents said they were concerned. Back in June, we had 70% of respondents state they were concerned. So it actually improved a little bit. And you can, sorry. I don't know if you two had a chance to read down the side where some of the comments that we pulled from the survey. So our immediate household has not been impacted by job loss. Our adult children have been. If needed, we may be financially assisting them. Creating debt, mortgage coming due, may not be able to obtain a new mortgage. Concern about EI and some of the shifts that were happening in terms of the benefits.
I'm really surprised about the EI, that it's not in a worse situation, because most people would be running out about now, you'd think.
Yeah. Yeah, the financial part, I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about this. It really took me back. I was expecting this to be in a much worse state. So.
Surprising.
But again, it was only 300 respondents or whatever we had as well, which is just a snapshot of our population too. Terry, I see you unmiked.
Yes, I think it has to do with the length. They extended the length as well. There was like the Canada Recovery Benefit, and then there was a Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit. So there were more varied benefits if you were unable to work from home or if you were caring for someone. So I'm just wondering if it might be maybe probable that with added supports and the extension of supports, if that doesn't play a part, possibly.
That's exactly what I was going to share too, is I think that it's really speaks volumes to the federal government's support systems. But as those start to fall off, I think the graph would significantly change.
Yeah, that's my concern. And I think that's why we're seeing, concerned if I will be able to obtain employment by the time my EI runs out, because we're getting near that end of that second rollout through phase 2. So if that discontinues and if there isn't an intervention or something else in play, we may see a whole different outcome.
Yeah, no, good comments. I think it's very true, and this is something we'll have to keep our eye on as things shift and change, and we'll probably end up doing another survey. Sorry, Nicole and Terry, in the months to follow, just to keep track of what's happening.
I also think that perhaps because we have a large number of people over 65, for people over 65, the financial part hasn't been as big a concern. They still get all the pensions and all the other things, so they aren't worried about job loss and stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Jen. And we did have several comments throughout the survey saying that they are on a fixed income they were, and that hasn't been disrupted as a result. All right. So we asked a few questions around economic recovery as well that we'll be sharing back to the Economic Recovery Task Force. We asked, would people visit a non-essential business if they had good safety measures in place? Again, very similar to what we received last time. Last time, 41% indicated that they would be very comfortable. So that went up 2%. And somewhat comfortable was at 37. It dropped a little bit, but overall, the data that we received was very similar to what we received back in June. And again, there was very little change in this at all. I think if we actually put them up side by side, the old Wordle versus the new Wordle, it was pretty much exactly the same. Masks, social distancing, vaccine, follow the rules, sanitize, all of those things that we know and we're doing every single day. These were new questions. So the Economic Recovery Task Force wanted to know, out of the respondents to the survey, how many own a business as their primary source of income. 5% said yes. And we also asked them to rate their overall mental well-being when they're at work. 16% rated their mental well-being as poor at work. The biggest you can see, sorry, in that chart was 58% rated it as good. We asked people to rate their stress levels. Very high, 5%, 21% rated it high, 63% medium, and 11% rated their stress levels as being low. We also wanted to find out if businesses were interested in having access to more mental health resources. 47% said yes, they were, and 53% were not interested. We also asked the question, what can the municipality do to help with your business's overall mental well-being? And we just pulled out a couple of comments that we got. Encourage people to shop small business, which has been happening and continues to happen with our economic development team and communications. If possible, it would probably help many business owners to have the option to pay their business license fee a few months later without penalty. So they're coming up with some strategies. Community working together to cross-promote a positive, heart-minded campaign focusing on the good deliberately. Provide more mental health support. And one comment saying it can't. I'm self-employed musician and the majority of my students will not take lessons online. My other contract work, examining lectures, festivals, adjudication is not at all possible. So there are people out there that aren't able to do anything due to the restrictions and the need for some services to just be offered in person. Not everything's possible to be moved on to a virtual format either. So these we will share back with the Economic Recovery Task Force so they can take a look and might help some of their strategies over the next little while as well. Any comments on that area? All right. So these, the last final ones were more just some of the open-ended questions that we asked. And again, we got pages and pages and pages of feedback. So we pulled out what some of the things that we thought were the common themes. Better access to programming for children. Their development is being permanently altered by the societal push to have them absent from everything except for screen time. And this is huge because the research all comes back to healthy brain development. And screen time isn't necessarily one of the things that they're promoting for early child development either, but we've taken away all of those other options for parents and children to gather in groups. So something that we need to definitely keep on our radar. Comment about more online courses, computer arts and health. So just more options and variety people are looking for. Spread the word about the special people making a positive impact through this special time in our history. A focus on the change makers working on new innovative ways we can continue to be successful as a community of people who care about the good of all. I love that. Speaks to the positivity campaigns, just making sure that we're getting that out there to the community. A comment, the agencies currently doing things for the community, are doing an amazing job of trying to offer positivity and support. And again, so many comments around more neighborhood events. We heard this back in June. People want to be able to connect safely, and we've had extensive conversations around how do we make that happen. We also included a comment which I thought was really important, but a lot of things have turned to drive-through events as well. But that puts some barriers up and limits who can actually participate, because you do need to have a vehicle to be able to participate in some of those events. So just something for us and the general community to keep in mind when we're doing planning as well. We asked, what has changed for the better? Very, very much the same thing that we heard back in June. It's time, it's about family. There was a lot of nothings, but the people that had those positive comments referred a lot to family, relationships, quality time, just getting out of the busyness, the routine, taking some time to slow down and breathe were the highlights of what we heard. Someone put wasted sweatpants in there too. Apparently we all love our comfy clothes when we get to work from home as well.
What does low brow people mean?
Low brow people.
On the left at the bottom, near the bottom.
I don't know, Nicole, do you remember that one coming out?
Not off the top of my head. Hang on.
We'll have to go through pages and pages, Susan, and we'll be able to pull out what that means. We did have a few strange ones. One of the previous ones, psych ward, came up a lot without, so when it goes into the Wordle, there isn't an explanation around it. So we'll find it and get you that answer.
No worries.
We enjoyed the comments. You get a lot of information back from those. And when we asked the question, what has changed for the worse? Again, pages and pages and pages of comments. We put them into 5 themes. So the isolation, the loneliness that results, loss of activities in general, finances, mental and physical health, and unable to see friends and family came out so loud and clear through this survey. And then we highlighted some quotes as well, just in the general feedback. I do want to say I'm really proud of our task force. There were a lot of different comments that thanked us for reaching out, thanked us for caring, for wondering how the community is doing. Just lots of gratitude for people to be able to voice their concerns and have a place to share how they're feeling and know that we're going to listen and respond. So some of the quotes that we highlighted were, please start to give our communities ideas for connection again. We had pictures in the windows in the spring, snowman contests, or a walk to see Christmas lights, a Santa parade, essential workers appreciation events, something. So people, again, are looking for those little nuggets. How do we connect? How do we do it? How do we do it safely? How do we do it with the restrictions? I know we can't do it with the restrictions, but something to keep in mind that we are going to have to build our community again a little bit and develop some of those relationships and start getting people back together when it's safe. Please help in telling people to cheer up and spread good vibes. I can't stand the gloom and doom. Wear a mask and be responsible, but share kindness and that will help. Thanks for doing a survey so I had somewhere to write down how I feel in a moment. I feel so alone. So powerful, very powerful. A really great comment about the back to school panel. Good to stop and be aware. The town hall you put on in September about feeling anxious starting school was phenomenal. The speakers were excellent. It was such a relief to hear others saying what I'd felt I'd been saying by myself. I try to avoid all social media, but was forced onto it for my work, and it was so negative and full of fear. The presentation was so fact-based, intentional, and positive. It was awesome. And again, some more thank yous as well. So thanks for the opportunity to voice here. It's like we all need to be heard just a little bit more throughout this terrible time. I feel valued being part of this. Number one message that has not been received by too many people is that we will not have a consumer confidence if COVID is out of control. The health of our economy is directly related to the health of our community. And finally, Town of Cochrane is amazing. Thank you for keeping us safe. Let's provide outdoor fun for every community to be together safely outside. Fire pits, ice rinks, sled hills. These were the main themes that we pulled out. I think we've covered them all pretty well, but financial and job security, community, family and relationships, mental and physical health, adhering to rules, and loneliness and social isolation were the 6 main themes that emerged. That's it. I'm going to pass it over to you guys to have some discussion. Anything you were surprised about?
I can
Natalia.
I was gonna say I was a bit surprised that I guess with time everyone's emotions have kind of been drained, but thinking that there's a vaccine may have kind of lifted the spirits, but maybe it wasn't long enough that it impacted their overall thoughts on everything. And then I think maybe we need to concentrate on that sense of community again. Of course, in the summer when the first survey went out, the weather was better. We could have a barbecue, we could do more. So maybe that's been a decrease too with the weather. But I like that comment about the fire pits and the ice rinks. Maybe we could think about that too.
Absolutely. And I think we're heading into a cold snap as well. So I think we've been incredibly lucky from it's the middle of January and you can go out in a hoodie and be okay. That's going to change here right away. So what is that going to do for the community? Because that limits even your ability to be outdoors, which we know is critical for mental health as well. Any other thoughts, ahas?
I do think the outdoor stuff is so important. I don't know about the fire pits. I think Calgary did add a bunch of fire pits, didn't they, around the city? Is there anything we could do, Jeff, around that?
Yeah, I guess. There's the fire pits at the ranch. I know have been very popular throughout this, and people have been bringing their own wood. The catch-22 to all of the ideas about events and gatherings and getting together is that we need the restrictions to relax. We're limited to 10, and then really what's frustrating I'll just say from my point of view, is that you try to do something, but we can't encourage people to gather. So, I mean, New Year's Eve was a great example. I mean, would fireworks really have been a bad thing? Probably not. But then would people have gone to where they were going to be shot off? For sure they were going to. So we couldn't have any. And those are the types of things that, you know, we're really struggling with. In my opinion, I think we need to put some responsibility back on the individual and say, you know, we're going to have fireworks because it's for the greater mental health of our community. Don't gather. And if you do at your own risk. And it's not the government's fault, or it's not the town's fault, or it's not your neighbor's fault that you potentially got sick or were in a group that was over 10. To me, that's a huge shift in thinking. I think part of what's happened with all of COVID is that it's put a huge reliance on, and not everyone, but individuals, on the government, whether that be the town, the province, or the federal government, to keep people safe. When we walk out of our homes and you slip on the sidewalk, well, who can I blame? And really it was, maybe you should have shoveled your own sidewalk. Is that so not to get into that huge philosophical conversation, but I do think we're going to have this reckoning eventually, where the responsibility can no longer be afforded by the government. And that's whether that be the financial aid packages, us subsidizing recreation to the point where we can't afford it anymore as a municipality, ... So, but I do think I agree with the comments that we need to get back. The survey does show us that community is important, neighbors are important. I liked some of those comments about, you know, encouraging the letter or the signs in the windows and that. And I thought that you know, the Helping Hands initiative with the kids with those A-frame signs was just spectacular. That kind of stuff, that we can do that. And I think that we need to, it's something that we're trying to brainstorm around here about, is how can we get people involved? And so we're kind of thinking of, well, where are people allowed to be right now? Grocery stores. So maybe we start to target, you know, parking lots in grocery stores, because everybody has to go there. Maybe it's some positivity, you know, paraphernalia in those areas, for example. I've really dodged your question, Susan.
Back to the fire pits. So the ones that we do have, people can book them out now and they can be up to 10 people. Is that right?
I don't think there's any booking. I could be wrong, but I think that they've just said, you know, use at your own risk, bring your own wood, you know, because we just don't have the resources to, you know, police them. Well, there's 11 people, or there's.
Yeah. The ones down by the river too. I thought they had to book them, but no, you can just go use them. I just wonder how many people even know they're there or they're available.
But again, that goes back to if we advertise it and 12 people show up, is it the town's fault for, you know, how come we didn't do something differently, or how come we encouraged groups? Like it gets, again, I'm just getting frustrated talking about it. But I guess if we put up a sign saying use at your own risk, but we have to decide to do that or agree to do that.
Mm-hmm. It's the same with skating rinks. People are gathering and you can't control the numbers really, unless there's a complaint and bylaw goes, but you're right. They have to take some responsibility for themselves.
There was a huge discussion around mayors and about that very topic, that people were complaining about how come the town or the city is not policing the outdoor rinks. I mean, to the point where people were starting to dump sand on ponds and rinks to keep people from using them. It's gotten out of control. And really it's like, what are we going to do as a community? We can't enforce that. So it's the use at own risk. But my inbox is full of people complaining about, you know, there was 12 people on the Jumping Pound Creek. Like, we'll be right there. Oh, look, there's 9 now. So.
I think like maybe what we can do as a starting point is we can reach out to Christy Bell and her team and just find out for sure what the protocol is around the fire pits to make sure that we know and we have accurate information. And it'll be interesting today. They're going to be talking, we'll see what's happening in terms of restrictions and what's changing and whatnot. But I think taking some of those like natural elements that already exist that are free in our community and doing some of that promotion with the caveat, right? Of these are the requirements and we can do something with these are the requirements. This is what we have to live with, but you can still do things within that. Very similar to our, I can't remember the name of it, but things you can do, like those ads that were going out. We can, promote some of those positive kind of things. Any other thoughts?
That's a good suggestion, I think, Kim. And I'm sorry if I sounded like I was raining on your parade, Susan. I think I completely agree with you that we need to promote that stuff more. It's just that's where the ECC keeps bumping up against things.
Mm.
Oh, we're promoting a gathering. Oh, we can't do it. So then they err on the side of caution of we won't. So then we don't say anything. And it's too bad.
Tough. I know I was at Rocky Mountain House for New Year's and they had fireworks in 5 different places so that no one knew where it was coming from. So it was kind of neat. Back to your idea about the parking lot, I think it's a good idea where people are gathering like the old Canadian Tire lot. You could do something there with even food, like we can do food safely and we can make the lineup, make them social distance.
I can reach out to our team as well. So before Christmas, they were doing some mental health pop-ups too. They were doing them in the Walmart parking lot, trying to get people, and they had some giveaways and brochures and tips for people. So I can reach out to our team and see if that's something that they could engage in again as well.
And with that pamphlet that we had of what you can do throughout Cochrane, could we just add a caveat, following protocol and everything, just so we kind of cover ourselves?
Yeah. It won't be the same as the what we can do ads because we had a different team kind of working in that area. So we'll have to come back and work with our communications team and see if they can support us to put something together. But I think it would be great to start looking at some of those, even rinks, and like focus on something different that you can do safely. And we'll have to think outside the box because I think it's going to be starting to get chilly as well. And hopefully it doesn't last for super long, but.
Kim, I think that just adding on to that, that's one of the reasons why our team is so excited about the coldest night of the year. Mine is the fundraising part of it, but it's teams of 5 to 10 people who can walk together. And that's the way we're phrasing it because restrictions are 10, but 5 to 10 people who can walk together, and we walk all at the same time throughout the community separately. So we're raising that community vibration and doing something as a community. And there's giveaways, there's toques, there's buttons, there's swag, there's going to be snacks and treats and stuff like that individually wrapped, but it's just an event that the community can do together apart, and it still falls within the restrictions. It's going to be chilly. It's raising awareness for those in our community that need that awareness raised. I mean, homelessness is often overlooked in the community. And then, but the event, the idea of having an event right now is just so exciting.
True. Are you getting a good response?
We have 74 walkers and 20 teams so far. So we wanted 15 teams. We have 20 teams, but we want to have way more. Like, we want the whole community to get involved because it's, I don't know. I'm obviously very excited about it.
When does registration close for that?
There is no closing registration, but with a month out, we want to make sure that we have enough toques and supplies for all of our teams. So we're hoping that people will kind of get their final team captains and some registration done in the next week or two, so that we can plan out for all of the swag and the snacks and all of that kind of stuff. And we did start an event Facebook page so that people can post their videos and their pictures and, you know, cheer on their teams or a team that they want to support. So just really focusing on that community positivity and excitement. So that's really what we're looking for.
That's so great. I'm so excited for that, Shara. So I guess my question that I'm going to put back to this group is, we are meeting monthly now. Is there a way, like, what do we want to do with these results? How do we move forward? Last time we came up with a bit of a plan on what we wanted to accomplish. A lot of it was around communication, awareness of resources. How do we get that information out to the community so they know where to go? I still think that's really important. Any other ideas or?
Yeah, I think we've kind of talked about it, but I think we need to share the results. So you're going to come back to council, right, and give a presentation. You talked about putting them in the paper and on social media or wherever the channels that we used before. I think that's important, but I think, and as we've just been chatting about, what are we going to do with them ourselves as a group? I think we need to maybe put a list together of priorities, and we've kind of done it just chatting about it. Positivity, events, sharing good thoughts, getting people to try and be happy again. You know, I think we need some time to brainstorm around how that unfolds, but I think if we picked maybe 3 or 5, probably closer to 3, it's easier to maybe do 3 things really well instead of 50 things, you know, not so. But I think that's where we should be putting our efforts, is what do we do? Could we, you know, is it a campaign? Is it events? I mean, Shara, and your excitement around your event. I mean, council is just recently, well, on Monday, we're going to award the, what is it now? Order of Cochrane. And it's, I was going to bring this up later, but it kind of ties in now. Last year was kind of, you know, obviously really weird. We started in March with, okay, you know, we've got this event on April 1st. Well, let's postpone it into the summer when COVID's over. And I think that was what was really so defeating about 2020, was that we kept thinking it was going to be over. It's going to be over. We get to go back to normal. We're going to have this, but it never came. We're still there. So part of the thing that my team around the mayor and CAO office is around, you know, like, let's get back to it. We're having things, we're going to do things. And the why I brought up the Order of Cochrane was, well, it's usually part of the Cochrane Community Awards. Well, that's not happening, but we control this one award. So council went ahead and we're doing it. We're awarding it. It's going to be awarded on Monday night. It's part of council. We shot a video. No one knows who the winner is yet. So Monday night, you'll have to tune in. Maybe 6 people will watch council meeting on Monday instead of 3. But it was so great to actually go ahead and do something. It felt good. It's given me a little boost in energy. And if that is just one example, Shara, that's what I'm seeing in your face and your voice. You know, if 74 people can go out and walk, that's awesome. Like, we need more of that. That is what we need to, I think, focus our energies on. And yeah, you know, maybe a video isn't the best way of doing it or whatever. I think we need to find some innovation there. Maybe that's where we can brainstorm around, is how people can do things a little bit differently, but at least encourage people to do things. Whether it's 3 people, 6 people, or 74, those little changes are going to make a difference. So I think that's where we focus our energies.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the little things that all the different groups are doing is what's going to make this so impactful. So I think when we talk about sharing information, super important to get it out, not only to the residents, but I think to our different groups in Cochrane, because we're not fully represented here. There's tons of other groups in Cochrane that can play a role in helping us address some of this as well. So we'll make a point, for sure this will come to council, and we always share it at our interagency meeting as well, so we can get that off to people. But in terms of priorities, what we want to accomplish here as a group, Jeff mentioned positivity, which I think has been said a lot. Community is another. Do you guys agree with both of those as being priority areas?
Kim, just a question about the school division. We had a meeting with them the other night, and I told them that you'd be sharing this information and that we make sure that they got it. But I was surprised on the results that not many people depend on the school system for support of any kind, because they've got lots of initiatives, don't they, with mental health and school support?
I think internally, like they would, but I think it also depends on what type of learning your child is engaged in right now, because the school looks very different to different people depending on what you're doing. If you're doing online learning, you might not feel the same degree of support as you did when you were within those walls as well.
I suppose that some of the, like Seniors for Kids and some of the programs are on pause too, are they?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Everything's on pause. If we're to encourage people to actually find a way, that's what I'm talking about. We need to, I think we used to gauge ourselves on a successful event was, however many people showed up. Right now, I think we got to lower the bar to, if 3 people show up, great. That's 3 more people.
Yeah, thinking outside the box and getting people to provide the service in a different way. Just thinking about Seniors for Kids, could they talk to them on the phone instead of seeing them in person? And kids want to be listened to, just like the people in our survey want to be listened to, and it's a big difference for mental health.
They're doing it virtually.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just said they're doing it virtually for Seniors with Kids.
Are they?
But I was talking to a Canadian in Maui today, and she said it was absolutely refreshing because it's not all over the news about how many cases or about COVID this and COVID that. It's just people are going about life the way that life should be, following social distancing, wearing masks, but it's not everywhere. It's just they've gotten back to life and the way that life needs to be, and it's just going along, and there's not that fear, there's not news broadcasting how many cases and all of that. So she just said it was absolutely refreshing to just be in that environment for the next 6-8 weeks, and go on living life normally with new protocols.
Can politicians go to Hawaii now, Jeff?
No.
Don't do it, Susan.
No.
Do it.
I'm wondering if we cannot throw this back to the people and get them to come up with ideas. Number one, that's a way of encouraging cooperation, but it's also, they might have way better ideas of what they want to do and how they want to do it and stuff. Maybe we have a contest of how to do something innovatively. Can we do something like that?
Potentially, yeah. We could also, what we could do, because we had a question on the survey, suggestions on programs to keep your spirits up. So we could also send all of those, like just, we'll send it out in a massive document. So you can just read through all those comments too, because a lot of people responded to some ideas. But absolutely, I think, and I do think it should be the community and it should be groups and us just sharing the information and trying to rally.
Exactly. That is a way of bringing everybody together, just to have a cooperative thing. You could have it so similar to the awards. So you could have what's the best way to entertain your children for a night, the best way to have a block party for, you could do it in different categories and have awards or certificates sent out for the best ideas.
Maybe the newspaper would do a voting thing like the best restaurant of the year or the best.
Yeah,
whatever.
that's what kind of where I'm thinking, is something like that.
The other thing that seems to get people involved is the interactive thing, like not so much a Facebook Live. And I like that idea, Jan, that maybe maybe we can do something on a Facebook page where people can actually interact, and it can, like a doodle poll or something, where you can watch the results and you can see where people are going with things. So maybe we create some categories and then watch the voting structure kind of thing, move the graph.
Yeah, I think these are all great ideas.
Maybe when people are walking, they can have a doodle poll to fill out, one of the stations.
So I just want to make sure that we have our top priorities and everyone's in agreement of them. And then just looking at time, I know it's 2:10 and we have a couple of things left on the agenda to get through. If we can identify our top 3 priorities, do people feel good with going away, giving it some thought, talking to people in your worlds about ideas, and then we can come back next time we meet and do a brainstorming session and come up with some actual concrete things to move forward with? Does that sound okay? So I have positivity, community as 2 of the priorities that I heard come out. One of the things that I think is important for us to continue to promote is just that support piece. Because we know there's a lot of worry, we know there's a lot of concern in mental health. So I think it's really important that we keep up those resources and making sure that we're getting that message out to the community. Is there anything that you feel we should add in addition to those 3?
I'm just wondering, what about like sort of tying everyone's ideas together, like the doodle poll, the Facebook, the theme around community, and letting people know what's out there. It could be maybe a theme like capture your Cochrane. So maybe while Shara is out doing, the fundraising, she'd be taking photos of capturing her Cochrane, like the event that she's currently in. And then you post it, and then maybe there could be like a competition of, voting of these capturing, and they're like positivity events and how people are connecting to one another. So it could be like how you capture your Cochrane connecting, or something along that line, where it would still involve people connecting. There's the visual, and then it's showing how people are connecting safely outside of being inside.
Capture Cochrane COVID connections.
Something catchy, and it could be someone, doing a song and recording a song, and that's how they capture their connection. It could be, the range is it could be someone who's really good at photography and capturing how people engage with one another. Someone through the window watching seniors and visiting their grandparents and how they're engaged. It could be that. It's something like that.
I like it. Yeah, there's tons of ideas out there, and I think like we've got a really brilliant group in this room. So I think we'll be able to come up with some really great ideas that aren't going to cost a whole lot of money, that create that like engagement and connection that people are looking for. We've jotted, so I have some real messy notes in front of me. I'm sure Nicole has captured them in a much better format. But what if next time we come back and take a look at all the things that have been discussed, add if people have more ideas, and then we can set some top areas that we want to focus on as a group over the next little while. That sound okay to everyone? Awesome. Anything else on the survey or anything before we move into new business? All right. So you will see, I've lost all my notes. I've got papers everywhere. My office is a disaster, you guys. One of the things that we do have to bring up at this meeting is the virtual meeting etiquette that Nicole attached to the minutes there, or the agenda that was sent out. So it's just a little handout. There's nothing that I feel I need to actually harp on. I would just encourage everybody to take a read. I really enjoy this group. I think we work really well together. There isn't a whole lot of interrupting. Sometimes getting you guys to talk is like pulling teeth a little bit, but there isn't a lot of interrupting happening or any of that. So I just encourage everybody to take a read, but I'm really happy with the way this group is working. We're all super respectful and work really well together. So did everyone have an opportunity to take a look at it when it went out? Are there any questions or concerns or anything you question? Yes.
We're on the virtual meeting guide. Is that what you're talking? Yeah, good. Before I went on a rant, I didn't want to be on the wrong topic. By all means, I don't think this guide is focused or directed at this group.
No.
At any sense of the word, but it really, we've had an internal conversation about, as we continue to work virtually, is there, people's, and this is really correlated and connected to mental health. I think as people's mental health has slowly waned and declined, so has their habits when they're interacting virtually with people. And this was really just a way of highlighting and maybe coming out with a guide so that there's a framework or a foundation that could be talked about. And it's difficult to bring up in any one setting, but it was kind of like the way of saying, oh, look, here's a way of that we should be acting when we're in a meeting with one another. Oh, shoot, I didn't think about that. Maybe my pajamas wasn't a good face for the community, as in a really poor example, but it's
really designed for council members.
Well, it's everyone, really. I mean, I think it's just a good highlight that you should. The thing I like the most about it is just assume that you're meeting in person, and that was the one thing that we all agreed upon. I think it would be a lot. We wouldn't even have to bring it up, but I think that was really what formed the basis of this. So,
Jen,
I think it's kind of sad, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I think it's kind of sad that we all, as a whole group, not just this group, but a whole group in Cochrane and area, have to be reminded about stuff like this. I think that's a sad commentary. It means that we don't respect each other very much. I don't know. I don't have to be told that I have to not interrupt people and stuff, and you have to put your hand up. I mean, really. I find it sad commentary on what our community is like.
I think the virtual, it's different though than actually sitting and meeting in person. I don't know if other people find that either, but I do think it's a good reminder. It's not intended at all for this group whatsoever. I love this group. It's like every single person on here is engaged. Never once has we had anyone in their jammies. At least top up jammies. The rest I can't speak to. And this is like one of the most respectful groups that I've had the pleasure of working with, where people are supportive and encouraging. But I do think it's a good reminder. So take a read. If there's anything that stands out that you're worried about, do feel you can reach out to me directly and we can have a conversation about it. And then finally, I just wanted to bring up the organizational survey. So Nicole also attached that, the copy of what went out back in June. So we submitted or put out a survey in June for organizations to try to understand how they were doing kind of in the face of COVID. And well, we did the resident survey again in November. We haven't actually surveyed our organizations again. In terms of FCSS, I'm really interested in finding out how people are doing, how they've been impacted, but wanted to put it out to this group to see if that's something that you were supportive of and are interested in doing again.
Kim, just sorry. Just on that note, similar to the government funding for CERB and EI, organizations have also saying the same thing, quick pandemic relief. So it might be beneficial to wait a little bit longer so we're not receiving that emergency funding and see how organizations are doing that, just from my perspective.
No, that's great feedback, Shara.
I was just going to say, oh, sorry, Jan. I see, this is why we need a virtual.
No. I lost my train of thought now. Go ahead. Oh.
Yeah, you see, I should have put my hand up. I was just going to say, I just being mindful of capacity, Kim, if you guys feel like this is something that you would utilize, then by all means, but just around, if we don't have time for it, I think we could probably focus our energies on those priorities that we highlighted from the other survey. But again, I don't know how much work goes into this behind the scenes, was my comment.
That's kind of where I was going as well. What I was going to ask is how much money does it cost to do this? And how much time? Do we want to do it twice or do we want to do it? Do we need it again?
In terms of actual real dollars, it's zero. But in terms of staff time, it's a little bit more. So we do have the survey. I'd want to take a look through and just see what information we're actually interested in collecting. Shara, I appreciate your comment because that one I didn't actually have that on my radar in terms of the help that organizations are receiving right now. But for us, for FCSS, one of the things that's really important to us is making sure that we're supporting those nonprofits, because if all the other organizations are able to do what they're doing, that actually eases the burden of the work and it spreads it out. And we want to be able to support organizations if they need that extra help, whether it's through, it helps direct our program delivery, the support that we offer, all of those different types of things. But I absolutely think that maybe you're correct and we do table this for a period of time and then we can just keep it on the radar. Maybe I'll just keep it on the agenda and share you're more in tune to the dollars that organizations can actually access than I am because I'm part of the government. So I don't have the same access to those things as you do. But maybe we can just keep it on the agenda and just do is the time good now? And you guys can yay or nay me, and then we'll just table it again and we can just so it doesn't fall off the radar. Sound fair? Nicole?
I do want to make sure that we know if we are planning on sending the public engagement survey out again, not for at least a few months, I hope, because I think it's going to take me that long to go through the rest of the data. Just to make sure that we're not doing both and trying to get both out at the same time, and that we have a little bit of a gap there. So just to be aware of that. So.
Yeah. And just so people are aware, we're actually doing something really cool with the survey this time too. We are breaking out the information that we received for residents that are 65 or older. We're bringing that back to the Seniors Advisory Committee so they can start to take the data specifically for that demographic and apply it to the work that they're doing. And they can go off and kind of find some strategies. We're doing it for families as well. So anybody who says they're having children, anyone who says they've already had them, we're going to give that information to the FRN, and that will direct their programming that they do for families. So we're trying to break it up into some really isolated variables this time and be able to give the information to the people that are working with that demographic so they can go and do really great things and help us respond. The other thing that we'll be able to hopefully bring back next month, no promises, but for sure by March, is we had 27 individuals from June actually provide their name on the survey, and they provided their name on the second survey. So we're going to have a very small sample of people that we can actually track, and we'll know exactly how things have changed from point A to point B. The rest of the survey is difficult to do because it wasn't actually a pre-post. It's a snapshot in time that different people are reporting how they're feeling. But we've got a small group that we actually are going to have like real legitimate good data that we can say, okay, people, this is actually changed for this individual from here to here. So we're working on isolating all of that. It's a huge amount of work. Poor Nicole is seeing like double, triple, quadruple sometimes, but I will bring that information back. I won't do it in as long as a presentation as I did today, but we'll be able to bring back the highlights to this group as well for all those different demographics if you're interested. All right. What's my agenda? You guys, my office is so terrible. I think we're on to round table. Is that right? Excellent. Where shall we start? Terry, do you want to kick us off?
Nothing new to report from last time. Things are busy. We have clients can come into the office, so that part is nice, seeing clients again. It's great for them. You know, we have some that, you know, want to come in, then we have others who are afraid to. So it's nice that we have the privilege to be in a town where we've got all the kinds of supports that we need and all the PPE that we can actually do that. So that part's been really good. So I'm enjoying being back here all the time.
Thanks, Terry. Jan.
I can share a couple of things. One, Share Your Christmas went really, really well. I don't know, I have heard so many people tell me that they drove by on that day with all the bikes outside and they were so excited to see them all. So that was kind of neat. We helped almost 1,000 people and we did almost 300 hampers. So that was kind of comparable to what we've done other years. It wasn't a huge increase. And the other thing, I have a connection to a company from Salmon Arm who is making what they call some kind of cabin. I can't remember the first name of the cabin, but what it is designed to do is go into to be put at seniors' homes so they can have visits within this cabin with their family members. So there's a divider in the middle and the family sits on one side and the senior can be on the other side, and they can have these visits in a more friendly way. I know some of them are doing it through Windows right now and stuff like that. So it would be like that, only a little bit more structured. So I was thinking that was kind of a neat idea that I'd heard about.
That's awesome. Who was funding that, Jan, or was it the homes themselves that?
No, it's a special company. They used to be in Alberta and they do a lot of sheet metal work and stuff like that. They used to be in Delburn something up by Stettler. And they've moved to Salmon Arm. That's how I know of them. But they do stuff for NASA. They do a whole bunch of different things, all special engineering things. But they decided that this is something that they wanted to do for COVID.
That's so beautiful. That would make such a difference to our seniors and their homes. Susan.
Just a question, Jan. Do you know how much they cost and what the name of the company is? I'm on the Rocky View Foundation. I'd like to share that with them.
I will certainly get that for you. I can't give it to you right this minute.
While your mic's off, Susan, do you want to go ahead with the update on anything?
I don't really have too much to update. It's been pretty quiet in my life recently. I did want to ask Terry a question about getting back to work and what's changed. Is there a variety of different issues coming forward, or is life going along as it has been?
Housing, affordable housing is, is definitely a more frequent request. Not that it hasn't been in the past, but it comes up more often daily.
Natalia, how about you?
I don't have too much to update. Rotary Club is meeting virtually, of course, as well. We've noticed the numbers dying down though with the people coming to the meeting, so that's unfortunate. And I think I'll be switching over to the young professional group, just because their time slots work better with my work-life balance.
Awesome. I think that's a common theme everywhere where participation is starting to, we're tired of virtual, Natalia. How about you, Shara?
Well, never a dull moment with us. We have the fundraiser and the walk that we're working on. We have a free food shed project that we're kind of in the baby steps of working towards. We're taking over the ambassadors program from the churches and calling it a community check-in program where volunteers will be checking in with isolated individuals in the community just to do a bit of a mental health check-in, make that connection, pairing up with mental health with AHS to have a bit of a script and a tick box to have our volunteers know how to quick triage and where the resources are to connect those clients. And that it for right now. Oh, and preparing for the food drive coming up in the spring again, and finding locations that are willing to lend us space for longer periods of time with socially distanced space. That's it.
Are you looking at doing food drives similar, Shara, to the past?
We are looking at doing 4 this time. So last year we did 7 and we figured this year we'll be able to condense it to do 4. It's a lot of work for our team and the food bank to be doing food drives every second weekend. And we have such a short spring summertime here in Cochrane. So we're looking to do 4 and pairing up kind of quadrants in the community so that we'll do the collections in the 4 quadrants throughout 4 different ones, April, May, and then September, October.
Awesome. Jen, sorry.
I just want to let you know, if you're looking for a place, you might want to try the Ford dealership because he was very, very good about it at Christmas time for us. He's a very community-minded guy.
Okay.
And we had the shop professionally cleaned, so it's good to go with food in there. So it might be something that you can work with him on. If
We
you need
did.
some information about,
Yeah, we have a meeting with Anne and Kathy on Monday to discuss locations, just because everywhere we were searching had turned us down, and the Ford dealership was one of the places that we were kind of hoping we could secure, at least for April, May, and then we could look at the fall later on. But that, yeah, and Jen, if you have the information, that'd be awesome.
I will contact the lady and see whether we can do that. If you give me some time frame.
Sounds good.
Awesome. How about you, Jeff? Do you have any updates?
Yeah, sorry. Other than my light turning off every 20 minutes. Yeah, well, I continue to appreciate this group, so I'm glad that we're meeting again. So thank you for that. I'm not sure if everybody's aware. It's not really a social thing, but we do have a new CAO at the town of Cochrane now. So from my perspective, it's been good. I'm not sure, Susan, I think you would share a thumbs up so far with Mike's performance, but it's just, it's been organizationally, if I can, at least from my perspective, it's kind of brought a bit of a settling. We've got a team member back, and it's by no means any of my comments a reflection of any negativity on the interim role or anything that anybody did in the past. It's just, you know, we made the decision, we're moving forward now, and it feels like we're actually building. So it's been good for that. I mentioned my, you know, back at it and getting events going again. That's going to be a focus from the mayor's office, positivity and engaging community however we can. So kind of rung the bell on that with our second team meeting yesterday of the year. We had our Economic Recovery Task Force meeting yesterday, and I brought forward an initiative that I found out through the mayors that I hang out with every once in a while, and Leduc had put forward what they called a COVID recovery grant for small businesses. So I brought that forward yesterday, and the committee or the task force endorsed it. So it will be going to council, but just as a little update, is really just partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, where small businesses, if they have a license within the community, could apply through an application for up to 5 hours of accounting or bookkeeping to help them navigate the benefits that are available through the provincial and federal government. So what they've done in Leduc is that there's an application form for the business, but there's also an application form for a bookkeeper or an accountant to get on the list. The Chamber would facilitate all of this, and then the community pays the invoice for up to 5 hours of this professional service. So in Leduc, they've allotted $20,000 of their budget towards this, and they've had a phenomenal amount of people and businesses that have reached out and been utilizing it. And in a way, what I like about it is, and obviously this would have to go to council and get approved. So I'm just speaking as if it were approved, then for relatively small amount, say $20,000, potentially the impacts to a business could be, you know, access to more jobs if they were to find out about the wage subsidy, for example, or CERB, or a grant that might be available to their business. So if we save one business or create 5 new jobs with this, I think it's really money well spent, because I think similar to what our task force is facing, how can we make a real impact in the community and without spending millions of dollars to do so? Really, we don't have the resources to do that. But if this is a way of funneling to other organizations that actually do have the financial capacity, then maybe just putting the two together is really the answer. So that was yesterday. So stay tuned for that.
That's great news. That's awesome. Nicole, over to you.
Me. I've been in task force data world for the last few weeks, maybe weeks. I'm not sure anymore. So that's been interesting. One thing I did want to bring up to mention was February's meeting. If we could bump it ahead or back a week, that is the Family Day week. break. So I think I'll be off that week, and I think Kim will be off that week as well. Unless you guys want to do it.
You guys can't meet without us.
No, you guys can.
Desire.
What week would it have been?
The 18th of February, which is the Family Day week.
I'm good with bumping it either way. Our board meeting is set for the same day as the task force, so I'm perfect with bumping it either which way.
Do we do a show of hands? The February 11th? Does that work?
Doesn't work. Jeff, is that one of the dates that we picked for the land use bylaw updates?
I have no idea. I know I have 4 other meetings booked for that afternoon, and 3 of them already overlap. So you guys pick whatever what works, and I'll just roll with the punches.
Does the 25th work better for people?
I think you just put it in there, and we'll just show
25th.
up. Yeah.
February 25th, we'll send out.
Yeah, I'll send that out. Thanks.
That all, Nicole, that you had?
Yep.
All right, last but not least, in terms of FCSS, things are plugging along. Terry did mention affordable housing as being a key issue. We did submit a grant to kind of lead the housing project. So those of you that know, we did the housing needs assessment. We're now looking for money for somebody to put a plan together for us. So I'll keep you posted on that. I don't believe we'll hear until April. And also when you were talking, Jeff, one of the things that I just want to say out loud, and then we'll end the meeting, we can talk about it next time, is what about like COVID grants for nonprofits to be able to do something to engage and connect community? Like when we talk about putting that out, maybe we could come up with a block of money or something specifically for agencies and groups to come up with unique ideas to build that.
Actually, I'm glad you brought it back up, because I was going to ask if I know that FCSS has the program about the help with accountants at tax time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the COVID grant that the Economic Recovery Task Force is talking about, I think, is very similar to that, really. But is there something on this spectrum, on this side, that makes sense too? So absolutely.
Yeah, I just wanted written it down somewhere because it will not be here on February 25th. That I can guarantee. Excellent. Is there any final thoughts before we close out?
I had one question. Is there any data to compare the surveys that we're doing now? Is there some kind of information that we could compare it to before COVID was around? Because you say that 6% of people, for example, are not happy with their job. What was it before COVID? Was it 10% before COVID? I mean, I think there's nothing. Did we ever do surveys like this before?
Not this specific. We would have different surveys like Cochrane Cares that has been done, but you'd have to ask the exact same questions to be able to compare it back again. So
I'm just wondering if is there something close that I just think that sometimes when you do one that's in the middle of an emergency situation, you're getting skewed numbers a little bit. Maybe they look way worse than they really are. Maybe they were okay, very similar to what they were before this COVID started. We really don't know, right?
it is just people's perception, absolutely, what we're getting. We can take a look, or Jen, if you want to take a look at the Cochrane Cares, that survey was done in 2017. The data won't be completely comparable and the questions are going to be a little bit different, but it'll let you know somewhat where the community was at that state. But these surveys were also designed to measure how people are in that state of emergency, because we are and we have been and we're going to be for a long time. So it's just to see where people are at and do that ongoing kind of measurement to see when we start pulling out how bad are things, what are the resources and tools that people need. But I'd encourage you to take a look at Cochrane Cares. I don't know, we did steal a few questions, I think, from there, but I don't know how much overlap there's actually going to be. Susan.
I just wanted to say there's other numbers, so like the food hampers, I thought they'd go sky high during COVID, and Jen, they haven't really gone up, have they? And domestic violence, I keep hearing that there's a lot of undercurrent, that there's a lot of people not reporting or able to communicate about it, but have the numbers really gone up?
It's hard to say. We'd have to, man, maybe we could bring in Big Hill Haven to do a little bit of a stats for us and what they're seeing and what that looks like. Sandra isn't here right now, but we could ask her next time to bring in a little bit of an idea of how things have changed and shifted. Hard to measure because they do have their emergency suite now, but sorry, I apologize. But they didn't have it before. So we can say usage is high, but we actually have nothing to compare it to because it didn't actually exist before, right? So
another interesting note is that real estate is up for these communities, and it's kind of surprising as well.
Yeah, I think in terms of financial stuff, I do think we're going to see the fallout futuristically. Because we've seen like things like real estate go up, trailer sales are at an all-time high, quads, right? Like all of these things, but payments are going to come due. Support is going to end up slowing and stopping. And I think that's a time where the food bank will need to be ready. And like all of us, our services are going to be maxed and tapped.
Well, thank you for all your work on all this.
All right, well, we have gone over. I apologize, you guys. It is 2:46. Great meeting. I hope everyone has a really great month, and we'll send an invite out. So we'll bump it till February the 25th because Nicole and I are each going to take a week off, and we're not going to Hawaii or anything. We're actually not even doing it together. It's just coincidence, but have a good month and do some brainstorming around those priorities. Community. Why have I lost it? Support and
Positivity.
positivity. And come back and we'll discuss that more in more depth next time.